Well, welcome to Pacific Northwest Research Institute. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming to our institute, Anna Lindstrand, who is here from Stockholm, and her colleague who is here at PNRI, Cláudia Carvalho. And they've been working together actually for years and are now toward the final stage of a month-long collaboration to explore frontiers in the area of rare diseases. So we are looking forward to this conversation and delighted you could join us. Let's talk first about each other. You've been working together for a long time. What do you particularly like, I'm asking you, Anna, about working with Cláudia?
I think Cláudia is just a brilliant scientist. She's smart. She sees, the patterns in the results that we're having and comes up with brilliant solutions. It's so much fun discussing science with her, and I think we really, bring out the best in each other.
And Cláudia, same question to you. What do you particularly enjoy about working with Anna?
I think I have to say she's brilliant. I like very much that she's so generous with her work. And every time we work together, she kind of invites me to collaborate with her and bring ideas. And then she is a good listener. She listens to what I have to say, and then but at the same time, she also brings what she thinks. So it's a very good, back and forth. I like collaboration. So
in your area of joint pursuit is the subject of rare diseases. Is that a correct statement? Why are rare diseases important to you? Let's start with Cláudia this time.
So I think rare diseases, I don't have experience in my family necessarily, but I think rare diseases, it's a window to understand like human biology. I think it's an opportunity to bring human biology, genetics, and also help other people at the same time. I like this. I always, when I was a child, I wanted to do something that I found that was of importance, but at the same time, I wanted to be a scientist. And I felt that when I started in rare diseases and before my master, I already was starting studying genetics and rare disease. I had this feeling that connecting studying the patients together with the genetics, I was able to find the perfect match to do both, help as well contribute to the knowledge, human knowledge in general. So,
and Anna, would you respond the same way or some different?
Yeah, I guess a little bit differently. I'm a clinician and I'm a specialist in clinical genetics. And in my clinic, I meet patients and families with rare diseases, and really trying to push and improve diagnostics is a way of helping those individuals that I meet in my clinical practice. Obviously, over the years, time becomes more and more of a problem, and maybe I have clinic less and less myself, but then I work together with younger colleagues who meet patients who are helped by the new methods that we're developing. So when I started in the early 2000s, when you had clinic, it was very rare that a patient had a molecular diagnosis. And today we can diagnose roughly 40% of patients with rare diseases. It's not enough. We want to reach 100%, but it's still much, much better than 20 years ago.
And it strikes me that it's probably valuable, but you comment on this, both of you, please, to have someone who does have the clinical experience and competence in this collaboration.
Sorry, one more time.
Well, you bring the perspective of a clinician into this collaboration, which adds something that otherwise might not be as as present?
I think that it's important, especially in the area of rare disease, but also in clinical science overall, working together, clinical experts, scientific experts, now more and more often also computational experts, but increases the overall value of the work, and maybe having clinical expertise on board. And here, I guess I'm talking, from my point of view, we can sometimes refine the questions a little bit and make them maybe more relevant. But other times, I think it's also important to see the scientific potential in the questions we're studying, and that they might be broader than just specific patients and trying to understand their disease. So I think it's working together and collaborating across disciplines increases the value of our work.
And how would you describe the ingredients that make for an effective collaboration? Let me turn that one to you. What makes this work?
I think constant communication. Communication is key for everything, but if you want to work together, that's the way. I guess like communication, but also being together once in a while also is very important, and have students or somebody like helping them to bridge also is important. Then we can move the science forward. Very important as well is to work together to achieve results and communicating these results often. That's, I think, is very important to move, because if you have a deadline, you don't reach, and the other person doesn't have time, and you have to prioritize. If you wanted to have collaboration, you have to prioritize the collaboration in this way.
So since listening to people like you, I've learned that rare diseases are not rare, because there are over 7,000 of them. And I've also learned that, of course, if you or someone you love has a rare disease, it's not rare to you. For those who've not had that direct experience that you have had, what's at stake with people who have a rare disease, where it's a part of the life of the family? How does that look? How does it feel? And I know it takes a wide range of manifestations, but give us a kind of a picture of a little bit of how a rare disease might affect someone's life.
As you say, this will be a very individual experience, and each patient and each family is unique. One of the biggest problems obviously has to do with the health aspects of having that condition. And when it comes to rare diseases, there are no standardized care available. So you are very much in the hands of the particular healthcare personnel. Their knowledge when you meet them and what they are offering is kind of what you get. And as a parent, you may have to become the expert of your child's disease, because no one knows anything about it. So if they have an ear infection and you go to your GP, they can be, oh my God, what is this? I have to send you to the specialist every time. So you as a parent might have to be the one who says, no, this is something that doesn't have to do with the disease, and here is a symptom that has to do with the disease. And I think it's what I hear all the time is this struggle to be able to find the right experts and find the people who can help you with, it can be small things and it can be big things. But then if you take a step back on the general level, you're always also questioning basic questions. Why did this happen? Can it happen again to someone else in my family? Is there some sort of specific follow-up that is necessary that we should know about and plan for? Is there a therapy? Obviously, this is what everyone would like. And we're at the point now where research, not just by us, I would say mostly not done by us, but therapeutics is pushed in parallel with our understanding of genomics and genetic causes of disease. And I think that makes sort of rare diseases, especially important for in precision medicine as healthcare is usually defined. But I think it is for the families and for the individuals always having to explain what this is, because people don't know, they never heard of this disease before. It's very different compared to if you have more of a common disorder that everyone knows about, and even the doctors and nurses know how to treat. They don't when it comes to the rare diseases.
So if there were one idea or fact or principle that you could somehow put into the heads of all primary care physicians and nurses who treat mostly people with common ailments, but it pertains to rare diseases, what would you like them to know that they might not know today?
That's a very tough question. I mean, each of these 7,000 or 10,000 rare diseases have their own unique healthcare problems. So I think you have to be a little bit careful to give one specific advice. But I guess it's listen to the patients, listen to what they tell you, and try to have at the back of your head that this might not be a common condition. And when it seems reasonable, you should refer people to the experts on those particular problems.
So I've got one for you, Claudia. It seems to me, having watched your presentation from earlier this week, there's an immense amount of work being done to advance our understanding of rare diseases and how to potentially provide effective treatment. And it's very complicated. We've got all kinds of technologies and techniques and data. So, but of the, let's say 7,000 to 10,000 diseases, do you have to take them one at a time? Or are there ways in which progress can be additive and that a success in one might help improve the rate of getting success in the next?
So yes, that's the case. We actually learning the patterns, as I actually mentioned in the beginning, we are able to start understanding, for instance, the mechanism of formation of certain types of variant in the DNA. And using that, we are able to predict regions of the DNA, for instance, that can be prone to disease. Sometimes people didn't see because they didn't look before on those regions. And then disease or cause of disease are revealed when people look on these regions. So we can start learning the patterns that sometimes if you study one disease, you can learn some patterns and some features of the DNA that helps with finding other regions that are prone or other types of genes that can cause similar diseases. So yes, studying one is often the case that helps study others.
So coming to where you've been working together for this past month, what are some highlights that we might be able to understand of this time you've been spending together here in this past 2 weeks?
So we
Beyond, of course, the good coffee and good food and opportunities to run in Seattle and so forth, but the scientific highlights.
So Claudia and I are both interested in a small area of genetics that has to do with structural changes to the DNA molecule. So many times when you think about genetics and genomics, you think about the single base pair changes that you have, where one of the letter in the code becomes another one. But our work focuses on larger variants where pieces can be lost or gained or rearranged in different ways. And one specific class of variants that we look at are inversions. And we have been studying them for quite a few years. We had a paper a few years back together, but I think one thing that we are doing right now is trying to understand how to best analyze inversions when we move from looking at chromosomes in the microscope to actually looking at chromosomes with genome sequencing technologies. And maybe the work we've done this month has enhanced the ability to analyze inversions a tiny bit.
Just to complement what she said, inversions are a hidden type of variant in the genome because they are difficult to detect. So right now, people in the diagnostic laboratory, so they basically most of the time, they ignore, unless they can see them in the microscope, they don't look into them, into just the genome sequencing. So they are being missed. In many cases, they cause diseases. So we are trying to find the best way, that's what she said, right? Best way to analyze this inversion. That's the work we are doing right now. But we also have been discussing a lot how we can do more together, have more students together and get some funds for the research we have been doing for many years, because we have not been getting this fund so far. We have been doing extra kind of work. And then, so we are discussing like projects, the way that we can expand this, and including other types like translocations and other types of variants that are also very difficult to be detected. So we want to expand to other alterations.
So many who are not as close to science or in science the way you are, have a conception of science as something done often by just one person working alone in an isolated laboratory. At the other end of the continuum, something which I think both of you have participated, this concept of a scientific hackathon, I find quite fascinating. So there was one you reported on where about how many scientists were involved in that?
So we were around 100 scientists around the globe who gathered to try to understand more about the specific cause of disease in 10 individuals with undiagnosed rare disorders.
And so 100 coming together physically to one geographic location to study 10 individuals. And as I picked up in my watching your presentation, 4 were solved. What does it mean to solve a case like that?
I mean, obviously, it was very, very rewarding. It was an amazing meeting. Often when you go to scientific meetings, it's a little bit of scientific entertainment where you tell your stories and you try to kind of shine the other people who are there. But this meeting was all about trying to work together to achieve a diagnosis for as many individuals as possible. The patients who were from Sweden, they actually joined us at the meeting, so the scientists and could meet the families, which I think was very rewarding as well. But also they could meet clinical experts from other countries who could examine them and talk to them and try to understand more about the specific symptoms that were involved in those cases. But really being able to meet with other people who are just as interested in this small area where you're an expert, right? And interact and advance diagnostics together was quite an amazing experience.
And in what ways might the lives of those 4 patients be changed by virtue of their situation being, as you say, solved? What does that?
So I think precision medicine starts with precision diagnostics. If we don't know the cause of disease, patients cannot be offered therapeutics if it's available. They cannot be included into clinical trials. Families cannot be offered carrier screening or prenatal diagnostics. And you don't know how to follow them because you don't know what disorder it is. So I think diagnosis is in many ways the key to a personalized healthcare. Which is what is obviously for these 4 individuals possible after that hackathon.
Are there more hackathons on the horizon?
Well, that's one of the things we've been planning this month, right?
You know, we have the one coming that start this Friday, tomorrow until Sunday. Hackathons are like a special time that you get together with a group of other researchers in this case, and you work intensely to resolve one or a couple of problems, right? That's the idea. So we invited other clinicians that are collaborating with us to come. They will be here, and bioinformaticians, and they have analysts and scientists working together. So it will be a small hackathon inspired by the one in the Karolinska. But the goal is for us to train each other and to like network and to exchange expertise and try to solve patients that are unsolved.
And will that again be a physical gathering together in one place?
A bit of physical gathering, yes, here at PNRI.
That's pretty exciting. Now, I'm given, as you understand, to flights of fancy. So I'm unbound by scientific knowledge, so I just can imagine things. So tell me if this is a lunatic idea that we might at some point in the future to be able to have virtual hackathons on almost a daily basis, where people are connected depending on their expertise and their experience to attack a particular case. Well, I understand there's a particular value in having everybody come to one place, but could you imagine at least a hackathon-like apparatus that exists in the virtual world?
Well, during COVID, that happens a lot.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people are doing hackathons because there are different types, right? Sometimes people are doing hackathons to do, most of the time is that's how it started, like computational challenges. And there was several during COVID, but I guess we are moving away a little bit for the virtual world. I guess we wanted to be together because there is a lot of value in exchanging and doing, you have people sitting together in the same table or in the next table, and you just go there and ask about, I don't know how to analyze this, I don't know what this means, and somebody else in the other table may know, or a physician that is who have here an expert in clinical genetics, like Anna, there will be another one, there will be one other researcher in primary immune deficiency. It's a very special expertise. So we wanted to use this different expertise like in real time to be able to discuss and very like close.
Yeah. So I have a friend who thinks that as much as we revere Nobel laureates as exemplars of science, that the whole idea is wrong-headed. That it singles out one or two, sometimes three members of who afford is almost always a much larger team, and that it actually kind of reinforces the notion that science is an achievement of an individual or a couple of people working together, which I think is useful just to provoke conversation. But my question is the culture of science in a process of changing, and should it change?
So the way science works today is very much based on peer-reviewed papers, and it is changing because now we are publishing our papers as preprints before the peer review process is finished. I think it can sometimes take a year to get a paper from peer review. So if the preprint is out there a year earlier, other people can use our work and build on that a year earlier, and they don't have to make, the wrong assumptions or mistakes along the way. So I think all fields are moving a little bit faster due to this. And there's a lot of discussion around how we credit different positions in the author list with different sort of weights. But if it's a team effort to reach a specific result, how can we make that visible? And some papers, but it's very rare, are more published under the name of a consortia, right, instead of specific individual names. So yeah, I think science is changing, but you still also need these people who can sort of read between the lines and see the interesting finding right next to maybe the straightforward answer. And those are also important individuals within the team who can capture the specific finding.
I wanted to add that I think rare diseases are actually leading this teamwork, because rare disease is a teamwork.
Mm.
We work with people from all over the place, across the board, doesn't matter language, doesn't matter religion, doesn't matter country. And we need to do that. There is very, there are, because rare disease have very, like, it's very individual and has very few patients in each group. Then we need to advance the knowledge in genomics, in the clinical part. We do need to work together. And again, places that have different expertise, then we are all the time crossing frontiers all the time. And I like a human being type of feeling, right? To do this work. So I guess in this way we are leading this advancement to be it's a global challenge. I would say.
That's very interesting, because again, just on the face of it, you'd expect maybe that a focus on rare diseases would occupy kind of a peripheral place in the movement of science, but you're suggesting it's actually out on the leading edge, promoting this highly collaborative, even interdisciplinary work.
Yes, I totally see it this way.
I think the rarity of the disorders forces us to collaborate. There may be one person in Sweden and then two in India and two in the US that are known with a specific disorder. So we have to collaborate in order to study patients and to, for those who have actually, are expert on different conditions are so few that we need to come together. Then I also think with rare diseases, we're pushing into this multidisciplinary research environment where we are working back to back computational people and people who are doing bench work and medical doctors. And there again, I think the collaboration is key to getting the interesting and important results.
Great. So I've got two more questions and then you're off the hook. One is, I'd like both of you to comment on your sense of where science, what position science occupies in the general culture these days.
I guess it depends on the country, I would say.
Mhm.
It's very dependent on the.
Why don't you take the United States and you take Sweden or Brazil if you like.
Yes, okay. I guess in the US, I see the difference, right? In Brazil and the science occupies a very important role in life of people. I guess although there are sometimes people are doesn't trust science in some respect, there are a lot of it's inside the culture, inside the shows, people talk in scientific terms all the time. That's not true in Brazil. It's much less. It's much the value is not as well recognized. And there are reasons for that, right? The pharmaceutical industry is here, not in Brazil, like we have some, but it's very few, right? So then people see less the value of the translational science. There are much more basic science happening in the translation. I guess that makes a huge difference culturally. Yeah, I guess that's the main difference I see.
Yeah, I guess then Sweden would be closer to the US, right? I think science and especially, study different translational healthcare sciences are very well seen, and people obviously see the benefits to themselves and their loved ones' health by improving healthcare. So I think there's a lot of interest and in general, very positive.
That's encouraging. So the last question for both of you. What makes you optimistic about the future in your particular field of scientific endeavor?
Well, to me, the collaboration is makes me hopeful in general, not only for science, but for humanity, I would say. We can work together if we want, right? It's just a matter of finding the goal to then we can figure out the rest. So yeah, the teamwork in general, I think to me is the more hopeful to find either cure for diseases or find solutions for the problems, how to detect certain variants. That's a very specific problem, right? But how to resolve the different challenges that we have I guess getting together and being able to work together is what I feel that, that's my, the hope is there.
Great. And Anna?
Yeah, I just think that when it comes to medicine and new knowledge, we really go hand in hand with technological development, and it's just a very, very fun world to be working in, because there's so many new discoveries, so many new methods that we can apply to answer questions about human health and disease, and to understand more both about why disease happens and then how to stop that, or even cure it, right? So I think that in that sense, the future looks very promising, because we are very rapidly moving into the, I guess, computational AI era, but we also have these amazing possibilities of digital twins and high resolution microscopy paired with, high level genomics. And I think if we collaborate, the sky's the limit.
That's a great point to conclude on. I'll just note that I think it was in 1868, a member of Congress here in the US proposed legislation to abolish the US Patent Office on the grounds that everything had already been invented. So that was wrong. So let me thank you all for joining us for this quite fascinating conversation with a couple of brilliant scientists who've been here at PNRI for almost a month, and we'll continue to work together well into the future. Thank you very much.